What's going on, Goobies? I'm in my basement. This will be my first talking head video I've ever made, so let's see how this plays out. And I will apologize. It's been 21 days since I've made my last video. It's November 2025, Men's Mental Health Month, so I've been doing things for my mental health, and that takes my free time, so I haven't been able to make a YouTube video. But today, as you can tell by the title, we have a bird with us. His name is Fire Alarm. He is a sun conure. He's my bird. He's kind of a butthead sometimes. But we're going to be talking about what the best engines from every size, from 1-cylinder to 8-cylinder, but not a 7-cylinder, because I'm not an aircraft mechanic. I've got experience with most of these engines, or I have had extensive conversations with people who do have these engines. And, yeah, we're going to be going over what I think are the best ones and a few runner-ups. And today's engagement challenge is, if you were going to go buy a brand new bike today, what do you think you would actually go buy? Because now that I've ridden the Grom and the Dax, I think I know what I'd buy if I could go back in time. But I can't, and that's okay. So anyway, let's get right to it. 1-cylinder ever created, undoubtedly, is the Honda CG125. As you can see here. It is made in developing markets. It was made for developing markets where maintenance was not going to be a top priority. Where really Honda needed to nail longevity, and they nailed it. But the modern engine that I have experience with is the JC75E, found in the Trail 125, my Grom, my Dax. It is basically the CG125, but with a few modernized refinements. So let's talk about it. They are the 9.7 horsepower engine at 7,000 RPM and 7.7 foot-pounds of torque at 5,000 RPM. Don't take much oil. You can beat on them, you can rev them out, and you can ride that red line for hours on end. They do awesome. I've got 1,000 miles on my bike, basically borderline no maintenance besides one oil change. That was the brake and oil change. Followed the service manual, and you're gonna get a lot of life out of that engine. I don't really have a runner-up for the best 1-cylinder, except for, let's take a step back just a few years and say the CG125, because that was the predecessor to the JC75E. So now we're going to talk about 2-cylinders, and this was the hardest one for me to do any research. I don't really have any experience with 2-cylinders. The only experience with 2-cylinders I have is the Kubota Z482, which makes about 30 horsepower and, well, about 15 horsepower and about 30 foot-pounds of torque. It is a diesel 2-cylinder, and it's found in a wide range of Kubota lawnmowers, as you can see. It's a nice blue engine, naturally aspirated, but really long service intervals, and you can beat on them pretty dang good, and they're just gonna hold up. That's kind of what Kubota and their small diesel engines are known for. Not a lot of complexity. But I'm gonna go ahead and give the best 2-cylinder engine to the modern-ish 2013 Honda PGM FI 471. It is a 500cc class engine, rocking in at 471 cc's, as you can probably tell by the name. It was, again, like I said, released in 2013, came in a wide range of bikes, most notably the modern NX 500, which I'm really interested in getting my hands on one day. They make about 47 horsepower at 8,600 RPM, and then they also make 32 foot-pounds of torque at 6,500 RPM. Have the child with me. She's got a lot of opinions about this video, too. Let me take a break, check on what she needs. Okay, and we're back. The wonderful kiddo just wanted to play with a remote to a glowing light bulb. It's kind of cute. So, where was I? Yes, it's time to talk about 3-cylinders. Now, this one is definitely my favorite. I've got hundreds of hours in the seat, and I have got even some video of me working on one. I'll show it here. This is a 3-cylinder engine. It's a 1.1 liter Kubota D1102. It was built between 1991 and 1998, 25 horsepower at 3,500 RPM, 57 foot-pounds of torque at 2,000 RPM. It had mechanical fuel delivery easy to work on. You found these workhorses in all kinds of farm applications because farmers loved them. They were the 90s and early 2000s workhorse on the hobby farm and the small farm. The small size tractor, this was the engine to have. Its only issue that it ever really had was overheating, and as long as you did proper maintenance and you kept your radiator clear of dust, you could basically avoid all of the overheating issues. It just took a little bit of maintenance. So that gives me, I need to talk about a runner-up for the 3-cylinders. I'm going to be honest, one of the only production 3-cylinders out there is the released in 2020 in the Toyota Corolla GR, is the G16E GTS. It is a 3-cylinder, but it makes 300 horsepower, which is pretty dang good for a 1.6 liter engine. However, it's only been out since 2020. We'll see how longevity goes. There might be other 3-cylinders out there. I know some of you are like, what about this? What about that? What about this? Well, here in the U.S. market, where I have all of my experience, yeah, this is basically the only 3-cylinder we got. Okay, so now, this is where it gets wild. 4 cylinders. Alright, ready for this? The best 4-cylinder. Know what? We're going to talk about the runner-ups. Runner-ups include the Mitsubishi 4G63T. These things have plenty of modability, make great power. They can be modified to make even more power. They do have a few oil leak issues, but don't worry about it. They're awesome. Well, now, what about that Mitsubishi? Okay. The FA series from Subaru, Flat 4. Those things are awesome. I had one in my 2013 FRS. That's what came in it. The FA series, way better than the FB series. Definitely easy to work on, and definitely amazing fuel systems. Didn't really have oil leak issues, and they got rid of the head gasket issues that were found in the EJ series. So I really like the FA20s, that whole FA series, really. But you can't talk about 4-cylinders without talking about the notable mentions of the K-Series. Beautiful car. I had buddies with the K-Series, both K20 and K24. The Honda Civic SI, the cute hatch that was the predecessor to the Honda Fit, I think is the best Honda to ever be made. I mean, that hatchback Honda Civic SI, the EP3, amazing. Okay, I love that car. I really, really do. It changed my opinion on automobiles in general. It's one of the reasons I really got into cars. But you can't talk about Honda engines without also talking about that's an Integra, but what's in that car? A B-Series. B18, B1. Now on screen you're probably looking at a B16, but that's the B18 and the B16, basically the same engine. The one in this Integra, back to the Integra, is it's got 230,000 miles on it. That engine is basically bulletproof. Other things in the car have failed, other things in the car have been replaced, but that base engine is a rock star, and she just keeps on running. No real issues except for valve cover gasket leaks. And guess what? If you just pay attention and do a little bit of maintenance and you use your brain, okay, you can fix most oil leaks with a wrench. Don't do anything. Don't even take things off. Just tighten within reason. But that is not talked about the best engine, I think. The best 4-cylinder. And that's going to be this ancient 2.4 liter Toyota 22R. Makes about 100 horsepower. Makes about 130 foot-pounds of torque. They were carbureted. And you could find them in, like I had, the 1991 Toyota pickup. No, it wasn't a T100. No, it wasn't a Tacoma. It was literally called a pickup. So, 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel lockers. You had to get out and twist them, and I survived a whole Denver winter in one of these things with no heat. It was lifted. It was awesome. It was a 5-speed manual. It was the vehicle I perfected my manual transmission driving on. I have a lot of love for this platform and this engine. I actually cried because my dumb teenager self at about 15 took all the spark plugs off the wires and then didn't know where they went. And I sat on the phone with a buddy forever, stuck in a street, trying to figure this out. And we got it, but I made it home, and it was okay, but that was a rough day. So, hey, you know. So now, it's time to talk about 5-cylinder engines. And before I tell you what my favorite one is, I'm going to tell you which one it's not. The VR5. The VR5 was a difficult engine to assemble. It was complex. It had unusual vibrations, and parts were not particularly cheap. And they also had all kinds of random issues, from timing chain cover issues to belt tensioner issues to oil leaks to all kinds of electrical problems. Thank you, Volkswagen. But put all that aside, it sounded awesome, okay? And the vehicles that it came in were great vehicles. Like, let's not pretend that this thing, owned by James Pumphrey, isn't sick, because it is. So, now that gets me to what is my favorite and what I would say the best 5-cylinder engine ever created. It's going to be the GM Atlas LLR, made from 2007 to 2012. It came in the GMC Canyon, the Chevy Colorado, and the Hummer H3. These 3.7 liter 5-cylinder straight engines could get 300,000 miles on them before having major issues. These things were a workhorse. There was a reason why so many of the mid-size Colorados and the GMC Canyons are still on the road today. This LLR 5-cylinder is a beast. Okay, 242 foot-pounds of torque, 242 horsepower. It did not have a square bore and stroke, so the fact that it had equal horsepower to torque was a really awesome, I think, benefit to this vehicle. It did suffer from some valve cover and rear main seal oil leaks. The rear main seal, you got me on that one. That can be a bit of a pain to replace, but you don't got me on valve covers. Again, the valve cover is on top. Okay, you got 5 cylinders straight. It was easy to access. If you developed an oil leak and you were paying attention, you could, again, fix that with a 12 mil. It in a ratchet. It took no time. It took no skill. Just attention to details. All it needed. Okay, and I know a lot of people are really struggling with that one. So, let me tell you about my favorite 6-cylinder of all time. Again, I keep doing this the wrong order. We should be doing the runner-ups. Runner-up, I'm going to give you, is 14.9 liter Cummins X15. Alright? 580 horsepower, 1,850 foot-pounds of torque at 1,000 RPM. These things came in 3 variants. They do come in 3 variants: efficiency, productivity, and performance. Each one scaling up their horsepower and torque just a little bit. Now, they do have fuel injector issues. The fuel injector is computer controlled. They are very electrically heavy engines. However, even though they're electrically heavy engines, they're solid. These are a great workhorse. You'll find these in semi-trucks all across the United States. Now that brings me up to another runner-up. I think this is a really important one to talk about, because I have experience with this one as well, hands-on. 5.9 liter 12 valve Cummins. Love this thing. The one I drove had 350,000 miles on it, and I drove it between 350 and 450,000 miles on it. This thing was a beast. The only issue that this truck had and this engine had that I experienced was fuel filter clogging. That was it. As long as you kept oil in this thing, and you kept fuel in this thing, and you kept fuel filters in this thing just kept on punching, and it made great power. It got great miles to the gallon. And you're like, wait, Gooby, miles per gallon in a big old 750-pound truck? What are you talking about? Yeah, dude, driving on the interstate of this thing, even though the RPMs were kind of up there. I drove this thing between Colorado, Denver, and Nebraska, Kearney, Nebraska, quite a few times, and I could get 25 miles a gallon out of this engine. Okay, so don't try to tell me that this 6-liter Cummins was bad, because it wasn't. But that does bring me to my favorite 6-liter of all time, 6-cylinder. Toyota 1JZ. Dude, they came in all kinds of Toyota vehicles sold in the United States between 1990 and 1996 and early into the early 2000s. This was an easy to get a hold of engine, lots of mod support. It had a great bottom end, and guess what? This paved the way for that very popular, amazing 2JZ. But why don't I say the 2JZ? Well, in the United States market, the only 2JZ that we got was the Supra. And you already know how rare the Supra is. So parts were expensive. The engine was, don't get me wrong, absolutely amazing. But one of the things that I care about is repairability and cost. And being able to repair and push this 1JZ GTE was, or GE, not the GTE, but the GE was a beast. Alright, 2.5 liter, 167 horsepower, and 173 foot-pounds of torque. There was a VVTi model that made quite a bit more horsepower, right at 200 and 200 on the horsepower and torque as well, and they did suffer from oil leaks from the valve cover gasket. Now the 1JZs did suffer from some ignition issues, but as long as you're on top of your spark plugs and your ignition system, hello orange, it really wasn't a huge issue. You'll constantly see these things at 250 and higher 1,000 miles. So I'm gonna skip 7 cylinders because I don't know any 7 cylinders at all. And we got to talk about V8s, 8 cylinders. Okay, this is a hot topic. I'm gonna talk about my runner-up, the LS2, 6 liter, 2 valve. Alright, pushrod engine. These things are found from the Corvette to the Avalanche. These engines are amazing. Okay, they make tons of horsepower. The blocks themselves are exceptionally strong. They make clean power too. Okay, you get a nice smooth torque curve and a nice climbing and then tapping out horsepower curve. These engines, they breathe well, they take modability well, they are reliable. You can push them at work, you can push them on track, and they are not going to break the bank, and they're not gonna leave you on the side of the highway more often than not. Okay, so they do suffer from some valve spring issues and lifter wear, but if you maintain your valve train and you keep good oil in your car and you make sure to make, you know, every 150,000 miles check your valve clearance, especially on the intake side, these are solid. Okay, I think the LS2 is the best LS engine that has ever come out of the LS series. Now, modern engines, we have the LT series, okay? So don't get them confused. LTs and LSs are different. So, let's talk about what do I think is the best V8 engine of all time. And the best V8 engine of all time is the Ford Modular 4.6 liter V8, found in the F-150, the E-Series, and the Crown Vic. Who doesn't like a P71 Interceptor? Alright, this engine, this V8 engine, this 4.6 liter, came in the Mustang, came in the Crown Vic, came in the Ford F-150, came in the E-Series, okay? There was a 2-valve model, there was a 3-valve model, there was a 4-valve model. Now, the 4-valve model is definitely going to produce the most power. It's going to have the best, cleanest burning fuel, okay? But the 2-valve is what stole my heart, and that is what you'll find in the P71 Crown Vics. 210 horsepower at 5,000 RPM, 270 foot-pounds of torque, 4,500 RPM, and they were a square engine. The diameter of the bore was the same length as the stroke. So if you really wanted to go build this engine and crank the RPMs up, as long as you had got stiffer springs, but it didn't get too stiff on the valves, these engines could scream into the mid 300 horsepower mark, totally naturally aspirated. Okay, these engines were awesome. You just got to let them breathe, and they were reliable. That's why they were in the police interceptors. They're reliable, That's why they were in the best-selling work truck of all time in America. They were powerful. That's why they were in the really cool New Edge Mustang. These Mustangs were really sick. I mean, this was, my uncle had one when I was a kid, so this was like my entry to cars as a young child, and I had a great time in his car, so they hold a special place in my heart. Yeah, that is my favorite V8 of all time. So now, I think I said, what if you could go back and buy any bike today, what would you buy? And I'm going to go check the comments to see what you left. I hope you left a comment now. Mine, I really think, and I've put a lot of thought into this, I think is the XR 650. It's a single cylinder. It's a big single cylinder. I like the thumping sound, but it's a dual sport. And my riding style, I think, would have really benefited from a dual sport. I have so many dirt roads around. I hit the dirt roads all the time. I like the dirt. It's really fun to go out. But then I also ride into town. So it's 50-50, right? I could settle for something like the CB 300, CBF 300, the dual sport that Honda has. I think that would be a definitely amazing stand-in for the XR 650. I don't think I actually need all the power of the 650. And that's not to say that I'm bored of my Grom and my Dax. I'm totally not. Those aren't going anywhere. But it is wintertime, so I'm not getting to ride. So I'm spending a lot of time online looking at bikes and cars. So anyway, that was today's video. I hope that you enjoyed my commentary. I hope maybe you learned a thing. I hope maybe you heard something you didn't like and needed to go comment, say something crappy below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.